stern warning to every Christian who supports Trump. In a peculiar, rambling essay, Papal advisor Father Antonio Spadaro S.J. has caricatured white Southern evangelicals as well as conservative American Catholics as ignorant, theocratic, Manichaean, warmongering fanatics anxiously awaiting the apocalypse. It is these religious groups that are composed mainly of whites from the deep American South that push conflicts and justify belligerence, while favoring the Old Testament rather than be guided by the incisive look, full of love, of Jesus in the Gospels. The article appeared in both Italian and English in the Vatican-vetted journal La Civiltà Cattolica, of which Father Spadaro is editor-in-chief. In it, the Jesuit priest says that U.S. evangelicals and Catholics have engaged in an ecumenism of conflict that seeks to advance a theocratic type of state. Spadaro, a friend and counselor of Pope Francis, was assisted in drafting the essay by an Argentinian Presbyterian minister, Marcello Figueroa, an old friend of the Pope's who was handpicked by the Pontiff as editor-in-chief of the Argentinian edition of the Vatican newspaper L'Osservatore Romano. Conservative Christians, the article warns, are ultimately driven by the desire for some influence in the political and parliamentary sphere and in the juridical and educational areas so that public norms can be subjected to religious morals. But is this really so? The story that has dominated religious liberty discussions in the U.S. since 2011 has been that of the Little Sisters of the Poor, a group of Catholic nuns that was harassed by the Obama administration under the HHS mandate of the Affordable Care Act and made it all the way to the Supreme Court. Do Spadaro and Figueroa really believe that the good sisters were fighting for some influence in the political and parliamentary sphere rather than simply asking to live according to their religious beliefs? The sweeping generalizations of Spadaro and Figueroa and their evident lack of familiarity with the complex religious landscape in the United States prompts concern about the quality of advice that Pope Francis is receiving from close advisors. In point of fact, the United States is one of the most religiously diverse and pluralistic countries in the world, far more than any European nation, a fact of which the authors seem woefully ignorant. Christians make up over 70% of the population, and while the largest single group is the Roman Catholic Church, there are literally hundreds of other Christian denominations as well as the vast world of non-denominational Christianity. Moreover, while Spadaro and Figueroa describe the influence of religion in American public life as a recent phenomenon, nothing could be further from the truth. They write that the American tendency to view the world in terms of good and evil and to mingle politics, morals and religion dates back to the beginning of the 20th century, with the publication of Lyman Stewart's 12-volume work, The Fundamentals. While this work did give the name to Christian fundamentalism in America, it was not nearly as influential as the authors seem to think. It was the Frenchman Alexis de Tocqueville, perhaps the greatest commentator on religion in America of all time, who in the first half of the 19th century marveled at the unique role that religion played in the young United States, so different from that in his native Europe. Despite the age of the work, it aptly describes the historical place of religion in American society and its vibrant and permanent interaction with politics and public morality. In his monumental 1835 classic, Democracy in America, Tocqueville observed, "Upon my arrival in the United States the religious aspect of the country was the first thing that struck my attention, and the longer I stayed there, the more I perceived the great political consequences resulting from this new state of things." And in one of the most famous passages of that same work, the Frenchman described what he believed to be the source of America's greatness, his term. "I sought for the greatness and genius of America in her commodious harbors and her ample rivers, and it was not there. In her fertile fields and boundless forests, and it was not there. In her rich mines and her vast world commerce, and it was not there. In her democratic Congress and her matchless Constitution, and it was not there. Not until I went into the churches of America and heard her pulpits aflame with righteousness did I understand the secret of her genius and power. America is great because she is good, and if America ever ceases to be good, she will cease to be great. The reason for this," Tocqueville argued, "stems from the close interaction between moral principles and religious faith, and the need for a virtuous citizenry in a democratic state. Lovers of liberty," he said, should hasten to call religion to their aid, for they must know that one cannot establish the reign of liberty without that of mores, and mores cannot be firmly founded without beliefs. Americans' willingness to bring their faith to bear on their moral decision-making should not be confused with the straw man drawn by Spadaro and Figueroa who long for a confessional, theocratic state. It is precisely the healthy secularism in the United States and the refusal of the founders to establish a state religion that has allowed faith to play such an important role in public life. En route to Washington, D.C. in 2008, Pope Benedict XVI told journalists that he was fascinated by the fact that the American founders had intentionally created a secular state, not out of hostility toward religion, but out of respect for it and because they understood that religion can be lived authentically only under conditions of freedom. Later in his trip, Benedict noted approvingly that, historically, Americans do not hesitate to bring moral arguments rooted in biblical faith into their public discourse. And upon his return to Italy, the Pope spoke of America as a model of healthy secularism. He described it as a society where the religious dimension, with the diversity of its expressions, is not only tolerated but appreciated as the nation's soul and as a fundamental guarantee of human rights and duties. To take issue with this singularly religious self-understanding, as Spadaro and Figueroa do, is to take issue with the United States itself. While the two men are of course free to do this, they should be aware that such blatant anti-Americanism will win them few friends and besmirches whatever other good work they may choose to do. While they obviously sought to harness their partisan critique to attack President Donald Trump and his chief strategist Steve Bannon, they have ended up attacking America itself. After insulting American evangelicals, in fact, Spadaro and Figueroa go on to assail those who profess themselves to be Catholic but express themselves in ways much closer to evangelicals. They are defined as value voters as far as attracting electoral mass support is concerned, the authors continue, and share a dangerous ecumenical convergence with evangelicals over shared objectives around such themes as abortion, same-sex marriage, religious education in schools and other matters generally considered moral or tied to values. One can only wonder what the authors were thinking on penning these expressions, since Pope Francis himself has weighed in repeatedly on each of these very issues, insisting that the right to life and the nature of man-woman marriage are not merely religious issues, but should be enshrined in law. So great is the value of a human life, and so inalienable the right to life of an innocent child growing in the mother's womb, that no alleged right to one's own body can justify a decision to terminate that life, he said last year in a teaching letter on marriage and the family, called Amoris Laetitia. In a bizarre irony, the authors rail against confusing the political and religious realms in the midst of their undeniably political, and indeed deeply partisan, screed. How they could get away with publishing something so puerile, bigoted and tendentious in what was once considered a very serious academic journal is a mystery. If by so doing the authors think they are acting like bridge builders, to use one of the Pope's favorite images, they are sorely mistaken. They have erected a wall of prejudice and partisan narrow-mindedness that is all but impossible to scale. Maxine Waters stated that Trump is embarrassing all of us internationally. Now, when the liberal Democrats are aware of losing the American citizens' trust because of their corrupted policy, they are trying to do everything they can just to get the attention back. And it seems this is the case with Representative Maxine Waters, D. California, who attacked Trump several times, this Friday on MSNBC's Deadline, White House, stating he was embarrassing all of us internationally. When she was asked if the Russian investigation's result doesn't have anything with President Trump, she replied, "Well, if the special counsel comes back with that kind of determination and if this country wants to continue with this president who's embarrassing all of us internationally, who does not understand the relationship with our allies and how important it is and who will continue to have this Kremlin clan surrounding him all looking toward Putin and the Kremlin clan wanting to make sure that we lift these sanctions, if they want to have that kind of leadership, if they want to have that kind of president, then America can do that. But I think that that's not going to happen. For beginners, American citizens love Donald Trump as a president of U.S. and presidential elections prove that very clearly. The liberals have high hopes for President Trump impeachment, but that is impossible to happen because the president is doing a great job for such a short time since he took office. The liberals will continue to attack Trump by spreading lies, but that doesn't matter because at the end of the day Trump works hard for America. Please share this post on Facebook if you support Trump. What is your opinion on this? Scroll down to comment. Moments after announcing Senate run, Kid Rock goes nuclear on dumb opponent. Kid Rock is one of the most popular country/rap/rock musicians of the past 20 years. Now it seems as if Kid Rock, whose real name is Bob Ritchie, is planning on making a strong run for Senate in Michigan. Rock already put a Democrat in her place, so he is off to a good start. Senator Debbie Stabenow said that Rock is probably better at playing guitar than politics. According to Hannity, Kid Rock fired back, "I concede that she is better at playing politics than I am, so I'll keep doing what I do best, which is being a voice for the tax-paying, hard-working Americans and letting politicians like her know that we the people are sick and tired of their bull. We love to see messages like this, especially people like Kid Rock. He is not afraid to get his hands dirty, and will tell people how he feels, unapologetically. You have to respect his ambition. One of the most striking things about him running is his connection to the people. He knows the politicians are twisted, and change needs to happen. It would seem that Rock's goal is to go in swinging and fighting for the American people." Kid Rock confirmed in multiple ways that he is in fact really running for Senate. First of all, he started his website, kidrockforsenate.com, but even then, some people were skeptical. The musician took to Twitter and posted a picture of a lawn sign that read "Kid Rock for Senate," with a caption below it. The caption read, "I have had a ton of emails and texts asking me if the website is real. The answer is an absolute yes." Everyone seemed to be upset because another celebrity is running for office, the same way people wagged their finger when Trump said he was running. The truth is, this is not the first time someone who is a social icon ran for public office. The important thing here for people should be the message. If Rock is willing to drop his rock star lifestyle, or at least tone it down, just to do everything he can to help the American people, that is something to be admired. Rock has openly gone against the Dems, and their PC culture, for a while now. The truth is, he probably sees what all of us sane people see, the left trying to take over the United States. He doesn't want to see that happen, just like none of us want to see the left take over this country and gain complete control. The famous musician may be using his stage name to announce his run for Senate, but at the end of the day, it makes no difference. His interests align with the patriots of this country, and he knows that we were spiraling downhill during the Obama administration. President Trump is helping us make leaps and bounds, but the more people with this mindset that we get into political power, the better off we'll all be. Lie after lie after lie. Shep Smith has on-air meltdown against White House, Fox News fans want him gone. Perhaps Shepard Smith would be more comfortable at CNN or MSNBC, because it is apparent Fox News fans have had it with his anti-President Trump bias. Mere days after he had a conniption on the air because of the cameraless White House briefing, Smith had another fit of rage against the administration. On Friday, Smith accused the White House of engaging in a cover-up and lying to the American people as he spoke to fellow Fox News anchor Chris Wallace. "We're still not clean on this, Chris. If there's nothing there, and that's what they tell us there's nothing to this and nothing came of it, there's a nothing burger, it wasn't even memorable, didn't write it down, didn't tell you about it, because it wasn't anything so I didn't even remember it, with a Russian interpreter in the room at Trump Tower? If all of that, why all these lies?" he asked. "Why is it lie after lie after lie? If you are clean, come on clean, you know?" Smith continued. "My grandmother used to say when first we practice to, oh what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive," he said. The deception, Chris, is mind-boggling. And there are still people who are out there who believe we're making it up. And one day they're gonna realize we're not and look around and go, where are we, and why are we getting told all these lies? One wonders if Smith remembers the vivid details of every boring meeting he has ever been in. One thing is certain. Fans of the network want him to pack his bags and go somewhere else. Another victim of Arkansas man scheduled to testify against Clinton found dead of possible suicide. Klaus Eberwein, former Haitian government official, was found dead earlier this week in a motel room with a gunshot wound to the head. The Miami-Dade medical examiner called it a suicide. What makes this case interesting is that Eberwein was set to testify against the Clinton Foundation. Miami Herald reported that he was found dead Tuesday in a motel room in South Dade. The case was ruled by the Miami-Dade medical examiner as a suicide. Veronica Lamar, who is a records supervisor at the Miami-Dade medical examiner's office, stated that he has shot himself in the head. Gilbert Bailey, a Munchies owner, said that this was shocking as he was like family and that they grew up together. Bailey said that they spoke 2 weeks earlier and he was alright then. He said that they were collaborating to open a Munchies restaurant in Sunrise. During and after his mandate as a government official, Eberwein has faced many allegations of corruption and fraud on how the funds were administered by the agency he runs. His oversight of the very poor construction of a number of schools built after the earthquake that has left Haiti in ruins was among the issues. On Tuesday, Eberwein was set to appear before the Haitian Senate's Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, which was confirmed by the commission's head, Senator Evaluer Buplin. This commission investigates the Petrocaribe Fund's management of the discounted oil program of Venezuela, whose money are received by Haiti. Strange how people related to Clinton end up dead. Several DNC-related people ended up dead over the summer of 2016. On July 3, 2016, the filmmaker Ricardo Villapa and Sean Lucas served the DNC Services Corporation and chairperson Debbie Wasserman Schultz at the headquarters of the DNC in Washington, D.C., in the fraud class action lawsuit against the Democrat Party on behalf of the supporters of Bernie Sanders. After that, Sean Lucas was found dead. The Democratic staffer Seth Conradrich was also killed in Washington, D.C. on July 10. The killer or killers have not taken anything from their victim, and his watch, wallet and his phone were intact. And on June 22, 2016, John Ash, who is a former official of the United Nations, accidentally crushed his throat and died a week before he was set to testify against the Clintons and the Democratic Party. It all seemed like a strange coincidence.